Hey folks, this is Johnny. Welcome to another home studio trainer show. It's been a little bit since I've released a video. I've been working on my Patreon site and getting all of those folks the tools that they need. If you guys are interested, follow the link over and head over to the Patreon site. There's a lot of cool stuff going over there. What we're going to be doing soon is we're going to be releasing some videos based on the Beatles for songwriting and evaluating some of their songs and seeing how they actually did some of the songwriting. So it should be cool. It's stuff I can't post on YouTube because of copyright. So since it's a private site and you have to pay to join, I can put those videos over there. So go ahead and head over there and become a member. Also, there are going to be some videos that are released on YouTube for a short time and will end up only over on Patreon. So there we go. All right. So if you're new to the channel, I would really appreciate it if you would become a member. Hit them. I have no members yet. I have one. I have one member, which is fine because if you go over to Patreon, it's probably better anyway. But if you are a YouTube fan, please become a member. But more importantly, like and subscribe so I can get more, subscribers and see if I can get these videos out a little bit further. Since the collapse of my old channel, it's been really, really hard to win back my former subscribers. So please go ahead and do that if you like what you see. I would really like to get the live streams going, but I can't do any of that until I get some membership support. So please, if you can, become a member, go to Patreon. Those will help me get the live streams back going. All right, so let's go to the classroom. All right, so many years ago, I did a very similar example of a song for the chord track. And I pulled it up. It was like when the chord track first came out. It is so much better now. This demo is going to be so much better than the first one was. So I went ahead and I modified it a little bit and I added some new stuff to it. And I tried it with the latest version of Studio One 6.2 and it works so much better than the older chord track from, I think it was version 3. Correct me if I'm wrong, might be version 4. Okay, so in doing so, I have, just before this, what inspired me to find this example was the fact that I got a bunch of questions on how accurate is the chord track for audio. Works fantastic for things like MIDI and VST instruments, but people were kind of concerned on how it worked for audio. So let's go ahead and try this here. So the only one that's not going to be influenced by the chord track is going to be the drum track here. So I don't even know where this drum kit came from. Maybe I do. What is this? Is it going to say? No, it doesn't say exactly where it's called New Metal Drums. All right. So now the bass is MIDI. The guitars are all audio, and the guitars have, let me see if I can actually show this here. The guitars have an instance of Ampere on them, which is cool because the chord track is going to tune the dry track, but it's not going to touch the distortion. All right, so now these two are acoustic guitars, and I'm going to really want to show you the example here because these turned out better than I expected. And then the last one is a piano track. All right, so I played the same chord and same notes across this whole song. Listen closely. It's just all the same. Just, like, I think it's D. I'm not sure. I don't remember. Okay, so it's just this part, and I looped it twice, or copied it twice, or did a duplicate, whatever you want. I want to get technical about it. And then I added a piano, and then went ahead and did some testing. Okay, so here was what I came up with. If I go here and I open up the chord track, boom, there's the chord track. So I went ahead and I did my thing in putting in some chords. Now, I am not a songwriting genius. I do everything by ear. I couldn't tell you what an A chord sounds like until I hear it. I don't know much about progressions and how they all fit together until I hear it. So which is why I don't teach songwriting to an extent like this, although I do teach structure, which is, I think, is almost more important sometimes. All right, so I went ahead and I did all of these chords. Just like this, just double clicking into the different parts and choosing the chord wheel and selecting them. So now the surprise was understanding what the chord follow option was. Okay, so this is going to be important. There we go. Okay, so now for the different types of audio, you have to choose certain things. So now you can see that the drum track here, the chord follow is off. Duh, I don't want it to tune the drums. For the bass, it is a MIDI track and it is a single note. So with single notes, you can choose bass, narrow, or parallel. Okay, so I chose bass and it worked out perfectly. I tried parallel and it was way off, and narrow didn't really work at all, but bass was the one because it's a single note and it's a MIDI track. So now for audio tracks, it's a little bit different. You have some different choices here. So now you've got something called universal. You've got scale because it's more than one note being played that the chord track needs to move. So for the chord track to work, if you're using a single note kind of an signal, you need to make sure that you have it set to a single note option. And that, in this case, it's bass. If you're going to be using an audio track, you have a couple of options here. You actually have a bunch of options. The only one you really don't use is bass. I've tried it with bass. It doesn't really work well. You can try parallel, but that works better with MIDI chords. You can with audio tracks. Let's see, is that, let me make sure I got that right. So if is it, okay, good. Yeah, parallel is in the singles with the single notes. All right, so audio tracks, universal usually works the best. Now, you can see that I have all of these set to universal because it worked the best out of all of them. And I definitely recommend if you've got a particular, audio track, try the other ones. But for me, the universal setting was the best. Now, here's a piano. And since it's a chord track and not a single note track, I tried bass and it didn't work at all. So with the chords being played in a MIDI track, I chose parallel, and that seemed to work the best. Work the bass. It seemed to work the best. All right, so again, it's kind of hit or miss, and the thing to remember when using the chord track, the thing I think that's really important, I want to go here just so you guys really see this. The thing that's important is that for audio tracks, the chord track is more of an example of a chord that you want to play, that you might want to replay, and not so much something that is always going to work for your mix. In this case, and you guys will hear it, in this case, it does kind of work. And when you put the tracks in a mix, you don't really hear that it's being tuned. But for audio tracks, it's really important to understand that some things are going to tune and sound great. Some things are going to tune and sound all artifacty. Artifacty? Is that a word? Is that a word? It may have a lot of artifacts. Here we go. In it. So testing and understanding that for audio tracks, sometimes it's just a practice thing to give you an example to go back and replay. But I have to admit, so far I haven't really found a place where it doesn't really work well. So go with that mindset. Now for MIDI, it is perfect. For MIDI, it is awesome because you're dealing with replaying the MIDI performance in a different chord, and you're using an instrument that's ready for all of the different notes and things like that. So for MIDI, I would say that the chord track is damn near perfect for that. All right, so take those little pieces of advice, and let's go back to the classroom here. All right, so here is our song. Here is our song. Okay, so now, what was that? Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to turn on the the chord track. Now, it's important to understand that you have to hit the follow button for this to work. So if I go here, let me actually bring this down a little bit more here. There we go. I didn't want to bring it down that far. All right, there we go. And we've got our chord set. Remember, if this isn't set here, it's not going to work. So now let's turn on follow. There we go. Ooh, pretty colors. All right. So you remember this. Now listen to this. Amazing, isn't it? And it's going to loop around. Did you expect that? Well, when I actually auditioned it, getting ready for this video, it did not sound that good in the earlier versions of Studio One. To me, this sounds spectacular. Okay, so now you're probably asking, so what do the individual tracks sound like when they're being tuned? All right, so here's the bass. Now, the bass is easy because it is MIDI. Okay, that's, pretty expected. All right, so now let's go to the other MIDI track, which is a piano. So now in the MIDI edit window, if I turn off follow, look at that, it puts it all back. Puts it all back to where I originally played it. Pretty cool. All right, so we got the MIDI out of the way. So now, I'm going to save the acoustic guitars for last. But now, if you listen to the guitar tracks, let's audition the 4 electric guitar tracks. And there are 4 separate performances. As you can see, all the waveforms are different. Remember, they're all going through Ampire. All right. So now, let's hear them dry. I'm going to turn off the effects. If I could remember where the effect button is. Where's the effect button? You got mute and solo. Oh, I don't remember where the That is so weird. I don't remember where the off button is for the effects. All right. I'm going to do it the hard way. I don't remember. I thought it was here to shut off all the effects. Okay, that's fine. As you can tell, all of these are live. All right, so let's go ahead and we're going to turn off Ampire and hear just the dry guitar sounds. Okay. All right, so now let's hear the dry guitar sounds tuned. Okay. So now let's hear the guitars with Ampire inserted. And remember, Ampire isn't being tuned. The clean guitars underneath are being tuned. And here's what it sounds like. All right, so there you go. So now here is like one of the big questions I get. If you're going to use the chord track to tune an acoustic guitar, how accurate is it? All right, let's solo the two acoustics. And we're going to listen to the acoustic guitars before the chord track. Okay, and after. So they sound good. They're a little bit artifacty, if you will, but not bad. Now, if we put them in a mix with the drums and the bass and the piano, how do they sound? Can't really hear them. So let's go to the acoustic bus. There you go. But when you put them in a mix, I really think they sound usable. So, again, like I said earlier, the chord track for audio tracks is really just to give you an idea on what a particular song or a particular instrument would sound in a different key. Not necessarily use in the mix, but if I decided to use this in the mix, this is what I would get. So what do you guys think? Do you think it's usable? I think in many cases it could be totally usable. But it's important to understand that the chord track specifically works perfectly for MIDI, and it's kind of a ballpark for audio tracks. Now, you could tell that for the electric guitars, it was actually working really well because the distortion itself wasn't being tuned. I mean, for distortion guitars, I think it would sound like garbage. I don't have an example of that right now, but I don't think it would work with, like, distortion guitar. It might. So I can just feel some of you guys saying that, well, why don't you render what couple of the tracks, you moron? You say you don't have an example. It's sitting right in front of you. All right. Okay, so... okay, we can do that. So let's see. So I think in this case, do I just render all four of them? What the hell. I am going to take all four. Whoops, that's not working here. Let's see. 1, 2... Am I going to have to do these one at a time? My shift is not working the way it's supposed to select all of the tracks. No? Okay, let's do it down here. There we go. So I'm going to right click. And I'm going to say transform to rendered audio. Now remember that the transform has two different modes. It has transform to audio, which is for MIDI. So if you got a MIDI track performance with a VST instrument and you choose transform to audio, it actually creates an audio track of the MIDI performance and the plugin. For audio tracks that have, and it only works if there's an effect on the insert. So for audio tracks, transform to rendered audio just means that it's going to create a version of these audio tracks with the effect that is on the inserts printed on the track. Hopefully that makes sense. So let's see. Yes, we want to preserve the real-time state because I don't want to screw it up. All right. 1, 2, 3. Should be 4 of them. Or there'd be 8 because I've got it cut. All right. So now if we actually look at the electric guitar tracks, all of the effects are gone. So now let's listen to, I have no idea what's going to happen here. So let's see. Oh, did it actually render with the chord changes? Hold on a second. Oh, it did. It rendered the guitar tracks with the chord changes. See, I got the chord track off. Oh, that's interesting. So I am going to go File or Edit, Undo. Edit, Undo Transform. Interesting. Okay, so what I really needed to do, I needed to turn off the chord track. Okay, and render it like that, and then let the chord track change what it hears after they're rendered. All right, we're going to try this again here. Okay, so now we're going to right-click, transform to rendered audio, like I showed you before. And it's going to render all of the tracks. But it's going to render them with the single chord. There we go. All right, so let's see what we got here. Okay, so now you can see here that all of the plugins are gone from the guitar tracks. So what has happened is we have printed the Ampere sessions to the audio tracks as to where the first version, the guitar tracks were dry. See if I can spit my words out here. So you can see that everything's printed now. So the goal of this exercise, which wasn't in the plan, is to see how the chord track renders, or how the chord track sounds with rendered distortion tracks. Here we go. Bam. I don't know what's going to happen here. It's not. I don't think it sounds good at all. So let's see. Oh, you know what? It didn't. It's not on. Okay, so for each of the guitar tracks, okay, so here's a good thing here. Here's a good thing to see. So when I rendered them, it turned off the chord track settings. So let's go back to Universal, number 2, Universal, number 3, Universal, number 4, Universal. Here we go. Yeah, that did not work. It Does not sound good. Okay, so just like I warned, is that the chord track working with distortion tracks, I don't know. Should we try scale? I'm trying to select all the tracks. There we go. So let's go to scale. Did it change it for all the audio tracks or just one? Oh, no, change it for all of them. All right, let's see what it sounds like in scale. Let's solo these again. It doesn't do crap. Oh, I almost swore. All right, so we'll try another setting. Yeah, this video's gone a little longer than I anticipated. We can try narrow, but I think that's for single note stuff. Okay, let's see. That doesn't work at all. All right, let's select all the tracks again. I'm using a lot of processing here. Not in Studio One on my little Mac Mini. So some of the key commands aren't working right. All right, we'll try parallel. I don't think this is going to work, but we're going to try it anyway. Parallel. See? What are the guitars? No. So universal is really the only option that we really have that is going to work for audio tracks with distortion, but yeah, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work at all. So let's see, change fellow chords. Let's see, edit, undo. All right, looks like I'm going to have to go back a little further. I suppose since they're I can actually transform to real-time audio. There we go. So now, if I did this right, all of the plugins should be back. They are. Awesome. And try again. Oops. There we go. Whoops. Bam. There we go. Some of the guitar tracks. Well, anyway, you guys get the idea. I've got to go back and actually fix some of this, but you guys get the general idea. The important thing to understand here is that the chord track is primarily used for MIDI. It can work for audio, but it's more of what's the word I'm looking for? It's more of an audition. It's more of an audition gauge to see if you should play the tracks again, you know, in the new key that you've chosen, or if you can use the audio tracks as they stand. Work good for the acoustic guitars. So, yeah, so there you go. That takes care of the chord track. A little bit longer of a video than I planned on doing, but hopefully you guys got something out of this. And if you guys could, I would really appreciate it if you would like and subscribe to my videos here. I really need to boost my YouTube presence here. If you could become a member, there's 3 super affordable levels to become a member. Or if you'd rather not do it on YouTube because of all the YouTube stuff, go to Patreon. You'll find the link in the description. Go to Patreon and become a patron of Home Studio Trainer, because there's a lot of different stuff that is going to be happening over there very, very soon. In fact, next week, I will be posting some songwriting videos, the way that I write songs, and using some Beatles songs as examples. So hopefully that works out for you guys. All right, that's going to do it for this video. It went way longer than I anticipated. Hopefully you got something from it. Hopefully you'll find the chord track useful, and I will see you all in the next video.